Hello. As you can tell, it's a little bit different setup. I'm trying to figure out where can I film in my room? Where does it look semi-decent? My brother criticized me on my last episode and said that the distraction makes him want to stop watching. I've tried to record this episode now multiple times, but my family is not respecting my recording session. And you know what? That's just sometimes what you have to deal with when you have a family. So you win some, you lose some. Getting back into the episode, getting back into the setup. I feel like this setup makes my episodes maybe a little bit better. This suitcase here was from a 2-week ago vacation that I still have not unpacked the clothes. Yeah, my bad. We are talking about materialistic people and materialistic things and all things materialism. So, what makes a person materialistic? Why does materialistic make you... Does being materialistic make you a good or bad person? Oh my god, there's something in my eye. And does it even affect your personality at all? Why do people make it seem like they're shallow? Is being materialistic bad for yourself? Is valuing material possessions a bad thing? Well, here are my thoughts. There is a spectrum when it comes to being a materialistic person that I will get into the nitty-gritty of later. I don't necessarily believing in just labeling someone as a materialistic person and then have them be all the definitions that or synonyms that might come with being a materialistic person. I feel like usually when society thinks of a materialistic person, you probably think that they're conniving, maybe evil, maybe selfish, maybe someone who's is not willing to give, maybe someone who values material possessions so much that they're out of touch with the reality, whatever that means. I don't necessarily think that is 100% fair to put on somebody. I believe that you can't just view a person in one way based off of what they own. I think that's, in a way, a shallow way of thinking. I would say the general stereotype of a materialistic person and what is associated with it, again, is kind of a negative trait, including them being shallow, being possessive, competitive, and maybe a clout chaser that wants to try and prove it to everybody around them and everyone in society that they have it, that they are hot stuff because they own a Louis Vuitton bag. And I know a lot of people who are materialistic people, including myself, and I don't necessarily see the people that I know and myself portraying ourselves or simply being possessive or shallow, for sure not. And I think there's a way to enjoy material possessions without having to go to the far end of the spectrum, the far extreme of becoming a bad person. I, myself, like I said earlier, am a materialistic person. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that, okay? I like nice things, I cannot lie. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have a pretty nice life. I have a few nice things, including myself. And I like what money can buy you. But I also love fashion. I know my fashion on this show hasn't been the greatest. That's mostly because I don't want it to be like this stuffy atmosphere, and I feel like sometimes when people watch things and you just feel I don't want me to come off as like it has to be super proper, because it doesn't. And I don't know, I just come in whatever on the show, to be honest, because I'm recording this in my room, for goodness sake. I just want it to be casual, I just want it to be relaxing, something that maybe you can learn from, yada yada. But I love fashion. I love breathe and think about outfits, what's in style, what's classic, what's not in style, what's I don't think is cute, how I can dress a bit better. I love to go to different occasions where I can dress up and dress down. I think fashion is everywhere. Even if you are a Silicon Valley tech guy who loves to wear cargo shorts and a dad shirt, that is still a fashion statement. That is literally still, you're sitting there saying, I don't really care about fashion, this is what I'm going to wear, but that's still a fashion statement. Clothing, everybody has some sort of fashion sense. Whether you consider it to be a good or bad one, we all do. We all own clothes and shoes and maybe a little bit of jewelry. As a person who loves to indulge in fashion and loves to indulge in Vogue, do I consider myself a shallow person? No. I actually really don't like shallow talk. I'm not really about the person who likes to meet up with someone and talk about the weather. I'd rather talk about really deep stuff sometimes, or stuff that's really maybe a little bit more intellectual. I like to talk about things that truly matter. I don't necessarily like to spend time on shallow conversations. And I really don't like it when somebody comes off as fake. I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Do I consider myself to be competitive? Yes, but only in the sense of like with my school or with my work, and making sure that I'm gonna be on it and competitive with myself more than anyone else around me. And I would never be competitive with my friends or family unless it was for a fun game. And I value my possessions. I might value the jewelry I have that might have been from my grandma. I value the bag that my mom might have gifted me. I'd be lying if I didn't. If I was sitting here and I was like, no, I don't care. You can take it all away, and I don't completely care. I don't think that. I think if someone were to take all away my things and were to take away, every nice thing that I ever own, I think I'd be maybe disappointed and maybe upset for a few days, but then, or max a week. And then you would realize, like, okay, well, I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, thank God. I still have my family and my friends, hopefully, in that situation. And you would learn to get over it. And I would understand that my life doesn't depend on that. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that there is a lot of material out there. There's a lot of material possessions out there that do matter to people because of a sentimental reason. Like I said, when my grandma gives me something, even if it's the smallest thing, I never want to let it go because I love her so much. Or say when my mom gives me something, it's the same type of feeling. I have a really hard time letting go because I feel bad, and not only do I feel bad, but it's a memory that I hold close with them. It's like this: when I see couples go through breakups, and let's just say the classic guy giving the girl the sweatshirt, it's still a material possession. Whether it's a $405 sweatshirt or a $45 sweatshirt, it's still a material possession that still reminds you of someone or something or a memory that you either don't want or want. And so I think that you're still placing a value on that sweatshirt. I think that having and wanting material things can be a slippery slope, and I will be honest about that. It's a bit addicting to my ego, and I'm saying this truthfully. Every time I get something new and nice, it buys me pleasure for a good week. I'm excited, I'm hyped, I can't wait to wear it out, show it to my mom, show it to my friends, in a low-key way, if you will. I might get a few compliments from it, but then those compliments kind of start to feed your ego. And I get really uncomfortable when someone gives me a compliment, but deep down inside, it still makes me feel wanted and validated and seen and heard, like most people, I feel like. And so for me, it really brings a sense of pleasure, and it brings that kind of like dopamine spike, if you will. But then by the 8th or ninth day rolls around, and then you realize, well, it's just another bag sitting on the shelf. It's just another blazer sitting in my closet. But at the same time, this is where it gets tricky, because I can sit here and say it's just that, but if someone were to take it away, and if it were to not be here anymore, and if I were to never buy it in the first place or never get gifted it, I think I would have a little bit of a disappointment. I think there'd be a little bit of a disappointment, but then again, by the 8th or ninth day of the disappointment, I would let it go. Because even though I value it, I don't need it to live. That's the difference. I don't need a nice bag to live, but I want it, I value it, and I enjoy it. I think it elevates my outfits. And I think that's okay because it's a hobby. It's something that I enjoy spending my time looking for. It's something that I enjoy spending my time collecting. Some people collect cars, some people collect bags, some people collect toys, some people collect cameras. It really just kind of depends. And I think we need to stop shaming people when they work hard for their money and earn their money truthfully when they want to buy things that they like. It elevates or enhances their life. Going back to the slippery slope, I can see where it can kind of go downhill. Going back to the ego thing and the whole egomaniac thing, I think it starts to get dangerous when I or somebody else wants to start pouring money into a possession, whether that's a jewel or a pair of shoes, into something that they simply can't afford. And I'm not saying that to shame anyone financially, but I think when you start to use your money in very unwise ways, instead of paying your rent, you decide to go buy a pair of $1,000 shoes, that's when it starts to become a little bit tricky. Because I think then the priorities are out of shape. I think the value that you place on your life, you start valuing material possessions over your relationships, over your relationship with your best friend, your family, your loved ones. When you start using material possessions a way to show off and be conceited in that way, and when you start to use it as a power play, like if a person were to come up to me and just because she had 5 more designer things than me, she feels like she can act entitled to me, that's when I consider it to be a major issue. I don't think that's right. I don't think having the biggest diamond or having the best jewelry in the world makes a person a better person or gives you a reason to act more entitled to others. I think something that I talk about a lot is just respecting one another no matter what. Like, no matter what. And especially when it comes down to money and economic portfolios or backgrounds. I don't think people get to treat other people who don't have as much money as you like they're nothing. Because we all are